Guys, I wanted to talk to you about places that you can find assets for your final summative project. So this project, it's not going to be published. You're not going to put it online. You're not going to sell it for commercial, purposes. So there's no money involved. So staying away from copyright-free things isn't as important. But remember that the overall theme for this project has to be school spirit. So for those of you that did not take graphic design, one place that you could look at is Stick PNG. And these are items that can be that are items on transparent background that you can animate. So this is one resource for you. If you want to actually use video footage, you could use Pixels videos.pixels.com, and there's tons of stock video here. And the place that I found all the graphics for the tutorials that you guys walk through is Freepik. So here I can get vector-based images. There's a lot of them here, as well as bitmap. So those are bitmap you can open up and manipulate in Photoshop, and vector you can open up in Illustrator and manipulate. So I'm going to walk you through how to actually download something from Freepik, and then how do you get like the graphic out of something so that you could actually use it in your composition. So I'm going to type in witch. We used a witch, and this is where I got it from. So I'm going to go to this witch graphic here, and I'm going to download it. And when I download it, you're going to see that it's going to give me this zip compressed file in my downloads, or I can find this in my downloads folder. I have it hooked up here, and I'm going to double click it to uncompress the zip file, and then I'll see a folder. And then inside that folder, you're going to see a variety of files. So we want to be able to open up the file in Adobe Illustrator. So a .ai file is a native file to Adobe Illustrator. And you can also open .eps files in Illustrator. You can't open JPEGs. JPEGs are flat. You can't manipulate this at all. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and say open with, and I'm going to open it with Adobe Illustrator. And then here's my witch. So the reason I'm showing you this is, when you click on something, sometimes it's like grouped together. Sometimes it's like grouped together with the background too. And maybe you only want it like a part of this. This is actually already grouped together just perfectly here. And that's nice, but sometimes you open up a file and like all the layers are together. So what you would do here is you'd right click and you would say ungroup. Sometimes it's actually in a clipping mask, and you would right click and say ungroup the clipping mask, so that you could actually manipulate different objects. So then we have to talk about size. So when we go to Illustrator, Illustrator is this orange AI icon down here. We can say File New, and it's going to ask you, well, what kind of document do you want to make? I'm going to pick Film and Video. And you're already going to see a 19 by 20, 10 by 80 template. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and then hit create. And this is the size that we've actually been creating in After Effects. So if you find a background in Freepik, you could bring it over here and resize it so that you know when you bring it into After Effects that it's the correct size. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the witch and hit Command C to copy and Command V to paste, and actually she's a pretty good size to animate. So that's kind of nice to know, to like compare to the overall composition, how big is it going to be. And then I can say File, Save As, and I'm going to call this Witch, and I'm going to put it in my desktop folder for this project and say Save. And now it's as easy when you're in Adobe Illustrator. Now you can open this Witch and it's the correct size that you want. Okay, let's try actually doing this with like a background, because that might be a little bit harder to do. So I'm going to say, I think I did haunted house or something. And the thing you want to think about is, sometimes you'll see a square composition. How is that going to look, in a rectangular space? So I'm going to pick this terrifying haunted house, and I'm going to download this. Again, it's going to be the zip file that I need to double click to uncompress. And then I can go to the folder And again, like so here we're only giving the EPS, so I have to use the EPS, right-click, open with Illustrator to be able to manipulate it. And let's see if this one's actually grouped together. So this one is completely grouped together. Oh, maybe not. When I selected it, oh, okay, so that's the background. So we can see different things are, and so I could. This is where you would want to release a clipping mask, and now you can see. Oh, now this is, I can actually manipulate this and whatnot. And then you can also go ahead and click in like delete. I'm hitting delete to get rid of certain things. And that's okay because remember, we're not using this for commercial purposes. This is just for educational use, so you can get rid of that. So now I could select all of this, Command C to copy, and I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to go to Film and Video and pick 1920 by 1080 and hit Create. And now we can see this is really small. So if I had imported this into After Effects, it would be way too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and transform scale and pick, I'm going to say 300. And just note that some things might get cut off, at some point. But I can pick, once it's released and it's ungrouped, I can pick certain layers and I can actually resize it. So I'm actually like pleased with maybe just like resizing the background and maybe resizing the mountains. So I'm going to hold down Shift while I pull from the corner so I don't squish it. If I didn't do that, if I just pulled that way, it's going to stretch it. And that might be okay, but it's completely up to you. So now I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to say Haunted House and say Save. Say OK. All right, and I'm going to launch After Effects. And while I do that, I'm going to download one more thing, just again to go through that process and see how do I take things apart. Maybe we want to recolor it, or look at there's like a group of things. Like maybe I don't want this whole group. So I'm going to go download. Again, we're going to get the zip file. Open the folder. Again, you never know what kind of files you're going to get, so I can open this up in Illustrator. And I only want one of these ghosts. So these are grouped together. I have to right click and say ungroup. And maybe I want to change the color of this. So again, it's grouped together. I could right click and ungroup it. And then I could select and see that these are the colors of these objects. And here I could go to some libraries, some color book libraries. I'm going to go to the default swatches. And here I can pick, maybe I want it to be a green ghost instead of white. I don't know. So this is how you would change the color of something and pick certain things, And then I can select it, Command C. Again, make a new film video, go to 19 by 20 by 1080 and paste it. And then you can resize it. So right click, transform scale. Maybe I want to do 200%. That's how big I want this ghost to be. And I'm going to say File, Save As Ghost. And say Save and OK. So that's how I got my assets. I'm going to go to After Effects. Still launching. But now we have 3 assets we can bring in. And I just wanted to show you, this process of, now I can double click and I save them all to the desktop. I should have put it in like a folder, but I know you guys will. And here's the 3 assets. I held down Command while I selected all of them. It's going to import it. Now I can bring it down to my haunted house. Look at it's the right size. I can bring in my witch and my ghost. No surprises there. I rescaled them before I brought them in. So now I can actually animate them. And that's how you work with assets that you find.